Okay, so what we're going to do today is I am going to go over directional terms that you have to know. Okay, so here's most of them. They're missing a couple of them. The main ones we're missing are dorsal, which means back. So on the back, if you are a dog or a cat, dorsal and means top. But here's the deal. This is human anatomy, so we're going to learn the directional terms as if you were a human. So dorsal means back, and ventral means front or belly side. Okay, so the ones that are on the screen right now are superior and inferior. So superior would mean like top. So right here, I have Rapunzel. Isn't she beautiful? Aww. So superior would mean like her eyebrows are superior to her mouth. See that? Or like think of Lake Superior. It's above the states. Inferior would be below. So inferior is below another part. Okay. So like your mouth is inferior to your nose. Anterior is toward the front, so like this is her anterior side. Oh, look at her dress, isn't it beautiful? Oh wait, here's her posterior side. It's her hair. That's it. So anterior is toward the front, so that's why ventral also can be anterior as well. Anterior is toward the front, posterior is toward the back, like dorsal. Medial means toward the midline, so it's close to the center line of the body that divides the body into left and right. So like if you drew a line up from your belly button. So I think this is hers. Oh, look at that. She has crosses on her dress up her midline. So basically closer to those crosses would be medial. So like, I'm trying to think. So if we're talking about her arm, we're like, ooh, what side of her arm? Instead of saying left and right, you'd say the medial side. So that would be the side that's closer toward her body. If I said the lateral side, that would be the outside. Because lateral means toward the right or left. So lateral would be, for example, you have a muscle in your leg that's called vastus lateralis, which means it's toward the outside. My kids are sick of Barbies, so they're into these crazy monster high dolls. So lateral would be toward the outside. Can you see it better over here? So the vastus lateralis is over here. Vastus medialis is on the inside, right here.
Mommy, my ear really burns, and my mouth does too.
Okay, proximal means closer to the trunk or the point of attachment, and distal would be the opposite, so farther away. So notice all these words are antagonistic to each other, so like superior, the opposite of that is inferior. Anterior, opposite of that is posterior. Those two are helpful because they rhyme. Medial and lateral both end in an L, so that's awesome. But proximal and distal, not so much. But look at your hand. Did you know you all have hands? Okay, look at this, right? So you have 3 bones in this finger, right? 1, 2, 3. And 3 bones in this one, and this one, and this one. So proximal would be closer to the origin, right? So closer to your palm would be proximal. Distal would be farther away. So this bone is literally called the proximal bone. This one is really hard. You're never going to remember it. It's called middle. Proximal, middle, distal, because farther away, right? Proximal, middle, distal, proximal, middle, distal, proximal, middle, distal. And then your thumb only has 2 bones, so it's proximal and distal. So it would be closer to the origin. So if you're looking at Rapunzel here, because you like her better than my fingers, for her so proximal closer to the trunk or point of attachment. So her wrist, right? This right here, what's that? Not wrist. Her elbow is proximal to her body, whereas her wrist is distal. So superficial means near the surface. So if you have a superficial cut, you don't need stitches. If you have a deep cut, you'll need stitches. Like my C-section went all the way through my organs, so that was a deep cut, and I needed staples and stitches and stuff in that. So you need to know these. Study them a lot. Because every dissection that we ever do, we'll use these terms. You have to know what they mean. All right, the next thing is body sections. You have sagittal or mid-sagittal, median, kind of the same thing. Median means it cuts down the medial plane. So think of Rapunzel in her dress. You literally would cut her down her dress. And then you get a left and right side. So you cut her. So median means left and right. You have a left and right side. Left and right. Frontal would mean that you cut it. So Monster High Doll, you cut her and you see a front or you see a back. Okay? That's called frontal. It's called frontal because if you cut it, you see a front. Like if you cut her, if I cut her with a chainsaw frontal, probably not a chainsaw because it would rip her apart, but cut her in something and chainsaw and I just held her up, you'd be like, oh, it's a perfect doll, and then turn it around and the thing could be completely gone. So from the front side, you can see anything. Transverse is my favorite because if you're expert at ninjas like my 7-year-old, you didn't even see that. I'm so fast. That's a transverse cut. In case you're like, I didn't understand that. It's horizontal. So like if you cut her, she'll have a top and a bottom. That is for that's transverse. If you think of a banana, how would you cut a banana? You cut it with a transverse cut. Cut in half, you get a top and a bottom. That's how you cut it. All right, so those are the different types of cuts you need to know, which is good because when you go to dissect, you'll need to know, okay, make a transverse cut.